Hi everybody, Michael Britt here. And for those of you who are looking for ways to engage your students on an online course, I think I've got an idea for you might want to check into. First off, the idea kind of starts from this book, which is just the best. It's called What the Best College Teachers Do by Ken Bain. And one of his key points is that to engage students, you could lecture to them, right? The old transmission model. Or you could find a question that they are interested in answering and then work in what you want to teach around their struggles with that question. So I got an example for you and also a tool which can help you do this. I think it's pretty neat. So, well, first of all, what's an engaging question? Well, we come across those kinds of questions all the time. I came across one recently, and I had read something somewhere about how whether or not you should use your pronouns in your LinkedIn page or on your resume. Now, students are always interested in things that have to do with resumes, well, at least in terms of getting a job, and probably interested in this pronouns issue. So, how might you deal with this or attack this, if you will, in class? Well, you could read some interesting research, and so I decided to just not take the whatever information I came across casually, and instead do a little research. There's actually a very good piece of research on this, which you're seeing behind me right now. Now, I could read this, summarize it in my notes, and then go to class and lecture on it. All right. Or let's see, how can I rethink what I'm teaching in a way that would be more engaging? So why don't I start out by asking students, what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea, or maybe not, to put your pronouns on your resume or on your LinkedIn page? Now that's probably going to get a discussion going. And if I want to teach students a little bit about critical thinking or ethics, or maybe about the hiring process, maybe I can create a little online experiment. Now, I've created experiments over the years using various tools, but lately I've been using Thinglink a lot because of its new scenario builder, and it actually lends itself really well to quickly creating not only a study that you could have your students do, but they themselves could then extend their ideas and create this experiment by themselves as well, and not spend so much time building it, and actually spend more time thinking about what it is they want to learn about and how is the best way to get that information, and how can I get that information that I can have some faith in, that it has some credibility. Okay, first, any basic experiment is really just consists of what you see going behind me here. Really only a few components. First, you describe the study to your subject. So imagine you have your participants come into a room and you've got a study all ready for them. Well, how is that going to flow? Well, it flows from the description. Here's basically what we're doing. To the next component of any scientific study, which is the informed consent, where now and this can be done online as well, a form that tells them, look, it's about this topic. You don't give away your hypothesis, but you give away enough information. You're going to be looking at resumes, making some decisions. And by the way, you'll want to add in, you don't have to put your name on anything. It's completely anonymous, confidential. We're not going to ask you to do that. It'll only take a couple of minutes to do. And if at any time you feel uncomfortable, you can withdraw from the study. Okay, those are basic components of an informed consent. Okay, once people decide, all right, this looks harmless enough, then what do? Well, you do the old random assignment, right? You're going to take your big group of people, either there in front of you or online, and you're going to randomly assign them to two conditions. So I have a coin here to represent that process. You're going to flip a coin and send them either to group 1 or group 2. All right, and then what you're doing, the manipulation here is that the participants in group 1 take a look at a resume, and the pronouns are at the top of the resume. And in another condition, same resume, no pronouns. And then you're going to ask them a question. After they've read it, you say, all right, look, how likely would you be to bring this person in for an interview? 1 to 10 scale. And then it's over. You've done your manipulation, which they call the independent variable, and then you have collected your data, and now you're just going to debrief. You're just going to tell them, okay, thank you very much, appreciate you participating, and here's what the study was really all about. Here's what we were looking for, and if you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me at this number here. Okay, so how do you do this online? Well, let me show you how I did it. So here I am inside my Thinglink account, and I'm looking at the scenarios. So I called this one the pronouns study. And you'll notice that it looks exactly like what I had going behind me earlier in the video, except it's vertical now. But you start off, at the home page or the first page that the participant is going to see. Little description of the study, very short. I can show you what this looks like. Looks like this. There's a very short little area here for me to put in some text. It just says, oh, we're doing about hiring decisions, something vague, right? The informed consent is a little bit longer. This is where I include all that information about this is how long it's going to take, and if you want to participate, you don't have to. It's completely anonymous. Okay. And so what I'm going to do, well, in fact, let me just play this. So I would end up sending a link to my students. My students would open it up on their phones or on their laptops here, and they would see this. This is the description. This is a little more in-depth. This is actually the informed consent. I didn't call it that at the top, but that's what this is. And then they click, and this is the first branch. And this is a very simple branching kind of activity here, because I'm just going to ask you which I decided to go with what does your birthday fall on, an even number day or an odd number day. There actually is a way to put a random number generator in here, but I just thought, well, there's only 2 conditions, so I'll go with this. That's random enough for me. And so they choose one, so I'll choose this one, even day. And then what you see is the resume. And this particular one, there's the same resume for Taylor Williams, and this is the resume that they actually used in the study that they gave us access to. So what they were asked to do was to read this, consider whether or not this person is qualified to be an administrative assistant, and then they click on this little icon here, this pulsating question mark, and that brings up a Google form. So this is as you can see, very simple Google form. Just says Taylor Williams application 1. The 1 is for me to know this is group 1. And then it just asks them, how likely would you be to contact Taylor and schedule an interview? And so they go, well, I would say maybe 8. Okay. And so you click submit. My form is set up to say, thank you very much. And now just close this window and click the proceed button. And that's it. The study is over. They're now in the final debriefing section, and this tells them what the study was really all about. In fact, I've given them a link to the study, but I've also given them a link to the data. So those 2 forms that I created in Google both send their data to a spreadsheet, and I'll show you what that looks like right here. And you can see this spreadsheet now has only this amount of data in it right now, just basically me. But you've got 2 conditions, no pronouns, pronouns included, and you've got the data. So imagine that you give this to your students. This is a very quick way to get students to be involved in the question, to be a participant in a study that's not scientific, because there's all kinds of things that could go wrong here. People could respond twice. You don't really know what's going on when someone makes their judgment. Maybe the dog is barking in the background. Maybe they didn't pay attention. So all kinds of things, which is a discussion you can have with students about, is this good data? Is it data that's credible? And so the neat thing here is I think what you've got is an activity instead of a lecture. An activity within which all these questions are going to be addressed. And what you could do, if you have a classroom set up in Thinglink, is you could have students come in, clone this basic design, these 5 steps, and then create their own experiment. Maybe it's a modification of this one. Right? Maybe they look at gender, or maybe they look at race. They vary different things about the resume. Resume has a picture, doesn't have a picture. Those kinds of studies have all been done. But your students are not spending a whole lot of time figuring out how to set up an experiment. You've given them the skeleton, they fill in their ideas, and they go out and collect some data. So my advice is to read this book first off, and then rethink, especially if you're teaching an online class. There are other ways to get students engaged in the learning process. You have to kind of think, okay, I could lecture on this, and you should be ready to answer their questions and so on. But another way is to start with the question and then show them how they could even pursue their answers by collecting data. And I think that Thinglink is one way to do that. Okay, I hope you found this useful. If you want to learn more about Thinglink or this approach to teaching, feel free to get in touch. All right, thanks a lot. Take care.